is the only currency that every single person on this planet has in equal amounts, at least at the start of each day. Bill Gates, 24 hours. You, 24 hours. The kid with a dream in a slum, 24 hours. The billionaire, same. So the difference between winning and losing in life isn't how much time you have, it's how you use it. And most people waste it like it's nothing. Let me be real with you. You don't have a time management problem. You have a purpose management problem. It's the great equalizer. The one thing every human being receives in equal measure every single day, 24 hours. Not a second more, not a second less. And unlike money, you can't earn it back. You can't save it for later. You can't buy more when it runs out. Once it's gone, it's gone. Time is the ultimate non-renewable resource, and the moment we truly understand that, our lives change. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine waking up one morning to a message that says you just received 86 400 credits. These can be used for anything you want. Love, learning, family, success, rest. At midnight they vanish, and tomorrow you receive another 86 400. But here's the catch, anything you don't use wisely today is gone forever. Those 86 400 credits, that's the number of seconds in a day, and how many people blow through them like they're meaningless? Scrolling through social media for hours, binge, watching shows with no purpose, complaining, gossiping, procrastinating, acting like they've got 1,000 lifetimes to figure it all out. The truth is, they don't. Let's get real. Every second that ticks by is a second closer to the end. That may sound dark to some, but in reality, it's one of the most empowering truths you can internalize. It reminds us that life isn't a dress rehearsal. You don't get to hit rewind. You don't get to do over. This isn't a practice round. This is the big game. Right here, right now. You want to know what changes someone's life? It's not some massive breakthrough in one day. It's the consistent investment of time in the things that matter most. Think about someone who's fit, confident, and healthy. That didn't happen overnight. It happened one 45-minute workout at a time, one healthy meal, one choice to go for a walk instead of watching Netflix. And here's the beautiful part. They weren't just working on their body. They were mastering their discipline, strengthening their mindset and creating momentum, 1 second at a time. Or think about someone who builds a thriving business from scratch. It's not luck. It's not some genius idea no one ever thought of. It's time, long, focused, deliberate hours when no one else was watching. It's the early mornings, the late nights, the weekends sacrificed. It's every email they sent, every rejection they got, and every minute they chose to keep going when others quit. Time wasn't just passing. They were wielding it. Look at parents raising children. It's not just about showing up. It's the time they choose to spend being present, tucking their kids into bed with a story, asking them how school really went, laughing at the dinner table. That's not just routine. That's life being built. Those are moments that become memories. And once they're gone, you don't get them back. There's a story of a man who once said, "I'll spend more time with my kids when I retire." By the time he did, his kids had grown. They had lives of their own. The door he thought would always be open quietly closed. Not out of anger, but out of reality. Time had passed. We often say, "I'll do it tomorrow." But tomorrow isn't promised. You don't get to schedule when your time runs out. It could be in 50 years or it could be tonight. And that's not to scare you. That's to wake you up. Because when you really feel that time is limited, you stop wasting it. You stop living on autopilot. You start making decisions like your life depends on them. Because it does. You text that person you've been thinking about. You apply for that job you've been too afraid to chase. You start writing that book, learning that skill, taking that risk. You stop waiting for permission and start living with intention. Time is the most honest currency there is. It shows you what you truly value. Look at where you're spending your time. That's what you're committed to. If you say family matters, but you spend all your time in the office, you're lying to yourself. If you say health is important, but can't find 30 minutes to move your body, you're not managing your time. Your time is managing you. Ask yourself, if I treated every hour like it's the last 100 I had, how would I spend it? Because here's the truth. You can get rich and lose money and make it back. You can fail in business and build again. You can lose relationships and heal. But you can never get time back. So from this moment forward, decide that you will treat your time as sacred. Protect it like your life depends on it. Because it does. Don't let people, distractions, or even your own excuses steal it. Be ruthless. Be intentional. Be present. Because every second you waste is a second someone else is using to chase your dream. The question isn't, do you have enough time? The question is, are you living like you know how valuable it really is? Clarity is one of the most underrated superpowers you can have in life. When you don't know where you're going, every road looks tempting. Every distraction seems like an opportunity. Every delay feels justified, but the moment you gain clarity, when your vision is so vivid you can taste it, Urgency is no longer optional. It becomes automatic. Let's be honest. Most people aren't lazy. Most people aren't even unmotivated. They're just unclear, and without clarity, your time gets spent instead of invested. You wake up, scroll your phone for 45 minutes, check emails that don't really matter, let your calendar boss you around, and then wonder why the day disappeared. That's not a time problem. That's a clarity problem. Imagine trying to build a house without a blueprint. You've got bricks, you've got tools, you even have workers. No one knows what the house is supposed to look like, so you start building, knocking stuff down, changing plans halfway, and wasting days doing things you'll undo tomorrow. That's exactly how people live their lives when they don't have clarity. They're busy, but they're not productive. They're moving, but they're not going anywhere, but not effective. Let me give you a real life example. Picture two people who both want to get fit. One of them just says, I want to lose some weight. That's it. No plan, no deadline, no target. The other one says, I want to lose 15 pounds in the next 90 days so I can feel confident in my wedding photos. Now, which one of them do you think wakes up with more urgency? Which one is skipping the donuts and hitting the gym at 6 a.m. with fire in their eyes? It's the one with clarity. Because clarity doesn't just inform your choices, it ignites your drive. When you have a clear vision, your brain starts filtering out the nonsense. You stop caring about other people's opinions. You stop chasing shiny objects. You stop procrastinating. You begin to act like your time is precious because you finally understand where you're headed. Let's take another simple example from daily life driving. If you get into your car with no destination in mind, every turn is a guess. You may end up somewhere interesting, or you may end up lost and frustrated. When you punch an exact address into the GPS, what happens? The system plots a route. You know your ETA, you know the traffic, you know the steps. Suddenly, every green light is a win. Every turn has purpose, and if there's a delay or a detour, you adjust. But you don't stop. That's what clarity does for your life. It gives your time direction. Clarity also gives you emotional leverage. If your reason is big enough, if your why is crystal clear, your how will start to figure itself out. Let's say you're a parent working a demanding job. You're exhausted most days. You feel like collapsing on the couch when you get home. But if your clarity is, I want to give my kids a life better than mine, suddenly you find the strength to work that side hustle after hours. You find time to read books about financial freedom. You stop wasting weekends. You don't do it because someone told you to. You do it because you know why it matters. That's the power of clarity. It turns purpose into fuel. Think about the most driven people. You know, the athletes, the entrepreneurs, the artists. They aren't superhuman. They just have extraordinary clarity. They know who they are, what they want, and where they're going. They've locked into a vision so powerful that saying no to distractions isn't even a decision. It's instinct. And here's the best part. Clarity is not a gift. It's a choice. You don't have to wait for a lightning bolt. You create it. You sit down with yourself away from the noise, and you ask the tough questions. What do I really want? Why do I want it? What's the cost of not going after it? Who am I doing this for? Because once your answers are honest and clear, you will move faster than ever. You'll prioritize with precision. You'll feel a sense of urgency that doesn't burn you out. It builds you up. Let me leave you with this thought. If you're feeling stuck, scattered, or overwhelmed, you don't need more hours. You need more clarity. Because when you finally see where you're going, really see it, your feet will start moving faster, your heart will beat louder, and your time will start bending in your favor. And that's when your life stops being something that happens to you and starts being something you design. One intentional moment at a time. Have you ever noticed how being around certain people instantly changes your energy? Some people light a fire inside you just by being in the same room. You feel more alive, more capable, more driven. Others, they drain you. They dull your spark, chip away at your confidence, and keep you small without ever saying a word. That's not just coincidence. That's the power of proximity. The people you surround yourself with matter more than you think. They shape your mindset, your habits, your beliefs, and even your expectations of yourself. If you hang around 5 people who complain all day, guess what? You'll become the 6th. If you spend time with people who don't value their time, who procrastinate, who numb their stress with distraction, you will mirror them without even realizing it, because your environment influences your standards. There's a reason we become like the people we spend the most time with. It's biology. Our brains are wired to adapt to the emotional and social climate around us. You've probably seen this in real life. Someone starts hanging out with highly motivated, disciplined friends, and suddenly they're waking up earlier, setting goals, reading books, crushing workouts. They didn't change because someone forced them. They changed because the standard around them shifted. Let's say you're trying to be more disciplined with your time. You want to stop wasting hours on social media. You want to be more productive, and you want to actually make progress in your goals. But you're spending every evening with people who do nothing but scroll TikTok, gossip about others, and talk about someday. That someday mindset is contagious. Before long, you start believing you've got all the time in the world too. And day after day slips by. But now picture this, you shift your circle. You start having conversations with people who are chasing their dreams, who wake up with purpose, who make intentional choices. People who ask you what book you're reading, not what show you're binging. People who encourage you to grow, not stay comfortable. Suddenly, you're inspired. You feel like leveling up, not because they told you to, but because they're living proof of what's possible. That's the beauty of proximity. It doesn't have to be formal. You don't need to attend masterminds or have coffee with millionaires. You just need to start paying attention to who's influencing you. Day by day, conversation by conversation, even in your personal life, this matters. If you want to be a more present parent, surround yourself with people who prioritize family. If you want to build a business, spend time with people who are builders, thinkers, creators. If you want to grow spiritually, emotionally, financially, get in rooms with people who already are. Because when you're around people who are walking the path you want to walk, your excuses start sounding weak, even to you. Let me share a simple daily life example. Imagine a man named David. David works a regular job, comes home tired, and spends most evenings watching TV. He's got big dreams, maybe starting a podcast, maybe learning to invest. But every time he mentions them to his friends, they laugh it off. Come on, man. That's not realistic. So he shrinks his vision, and another year passes. Then one day, he meets someone at a community event. This new person runs a small online business, reads every morning, and talks with passion about goals and growth. They become friends. David starts hearing different language, words, discipline, execution, vision, legacy. He starts questioning his own habits. Within a few months, he joins a local group of entrepreneurs. He starts waking up an hour earlier. He launches a simple blog. That blog becomes a podcast. The podcast becomes a business. And now he's the guy inspiring others. What changed? Not David's talent, not his time, not his potential. His proximity changed, and with it, his identity followed. Proximity gives you belief, it gives you energy, and sometimes it gives you the permission you've been waiting for to dream bigger, to move faster, to expect more from yourself. If you're not growing, check your circle. If your time feels wasted, check your environment. Because even the strongest mindset will struggle in a toxic atmosphere. You need people who respect their own time and yours. You need people who talk more about goals than gossip, who spend more time creating than criticizing. Celebrate your wins and challenge your comfort zone. Remember, it's not about cutting people off with judgment. It's about protecting your energy with wisdom. Love your friends. Limit your exposure if they're not pushing you forward. You don't need to be rude. You just need to be intentional. Because your life is too valuable. Your time is too precious. And your dreams are too important to be shaped by people who don't believe in them. At the end of the day, we rise to the level of the people around us. So if you want to rise, choose your proximity like your future depends on it, because it does. We live in the noisiest time in human history. Notifications, messages, ads, emails, endless content, all screaming for your attention. Every second, your brain is under attack. Every app on your phone is designed to keep you hooked, to steal your time, and to convince you that checking in just for a second is harmless. But let me tell you the truth. Distractions are not harmless. They are time assassins, silent, subtle, and deadly. And if you don't learn to eliminate them ruthlessly, they will rob you the life you were meant to live. Distraction is the enemy of progress, and the scary part, most distractions don't even feel like distractions. They come disguised as important, as urgent, or worse, as harmless. A quick look at your phone in the morning turns into 30 minutes of mindless scrolling. One episode of a show becomes 5. One negative conversation leaves you mentally drained for hours, and by the time the day ends, you wonder, where did all the time go? It didn't vanish. It was stolen. One notification at a time. Here's the harsh truth. If you don't control your environment will control you. And your goals, your dreams, your priorities, everything you say matters to you, will quietly die in the background of 1,000 meaningless moments. Imagine this: you wake up feeling good, motivated, ready to tackle your goals. You open your phone to check the time, and boom, there's a message. You reply. Then you see a notification from Instagram. You click. Then a trending reel catches your eye. 10 minutes pass. Then a news headline appears. You click. 15 minutes later, you'd already lost momentum, and the day hasn't even started. That little window of clarity you had is gone. You were hijacked by distraction. Now contrast that with this. You wake up, your phone is on airplane mode. No notifications. You go straight into journaling, maybe 10 minutes of exercise, and you review your top 3 priorities for the day. You've already won your morning, and when you win your morning, you win your day. Why? Because your focus wasn't scattered. It was protected. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Distraction is inevitable, but tolerating it is a choice. Think about this. A high-performing athlete doesn't just train hard. They eliminate anything that could pull them off their game. They eat clean. They sleep early. They follow strict routines. Why? Because their performance is on the line. Guess what? So is yours. Every dream you have, every goal you're chasing, it all depends on your ability to focus, to lock in, to shut the door on distraction and do the deep, boring, disciplined work. You don't rise to your level of ambition, you fall to the level of your systems. And if your system is filled with endless pings, multitasking, random YouTube rabbit holes, letting anyone interrupt your day at will, you're building your life on a shaky foundation. Let's take a relatable example. Say you want to write a book. Great. But every time you sit down to write, your phone buzzes, you reply, then you open your email, then you check a notification, then you get up to grab a snack. 2 hours pass, you've written half a paragraph. And because you didn't get into a flow, you feel frustrated. You start believing writing a book is too hard or not for you. But the truth is, it's not that the task is too hard, it's that your focus is too fragile. Distractions aren't just wasting your time, they're stealing your belief. Every time you get pulled away from the task, your confidence erodes just a little more. Now imagine a different scenario. You turn off your phone, you block 90 minutes, you put on some focus music, you start writing. At first it's slow, but then something happens. You get in the zone, ideas start flowing, you feel proud, you're making progress. That's the power of focus. That's what distraction has been hiding from you this whole time, your best work. And let's talk about people for a second. Because not all distractions come from devices. Some come from people who don't respect your time. The friend who always needs just a minute, but talks for an hour. The coworker who dumps tasks on you last minute. The relative who constantly pulls you into drama. If you don't set boundaries, your time will always be up for grabs. Protecting your time doesn't mean being cold. It means being clear. It means saying, I love you, but I need to focus right now. It means not answering every message the moment it arrives. It means blocking out time where you are unavailable to the world because you're building something important. If you want to live an extraordinary life, you can't give ordinary things your energy. You can't allow distraction to dilute your purpose. You have to defend your attention like your future depends on it. Because it does. So turn off the noise, log out of the chaos, say no more often. Design your space for focus. Schedule your solitude. Build walls around your priorities. And remember, every yes to a distraction is a no to your destiny. Eliminate distractions ruthlessly. Not someday, not tomorrow. Now, time isn't just about minutes on a clock, it's about meaning. And when you learn how to stack your hours with purpose, momentum, and intention, life stops feeling like a blur and starts feeling like a mission. Stacking your hours means getting more from your time by aligning your tasks with your goals. It means you stop living on autopilot and start designing your days like someone who knows exactly where they're going. Because here's the truth. Successful people don't have more hours, they just squeeze more meaning out of the same 24. Let's get one thing clear. This isn't about doing more until you burn out. It's about making sure the time you are spending is moving you forward, not just filling space. Because a full calendar isn't a sign of progress, a focused one is. Stacking your hours means asking yourself, how can I turn ordinary time into powerful, purpose-driven time? Let's take something as simple as your commute. Most people spend that time zoning out, scrolling social media, or listening to random noise. But what if you use that time to feed your mind? Imagine driving to work while listening to a podcast that teaches you how to grow your business, improve your mindset, or learn a new language. That's not just a drive anymore, that's personal development on wheels. You didn't add extra time to your day, you just stacked that hour with value. Now apply that to fitness. Let's say you want to stay healthy but also want to grow spiritually or mentally. You can listen to an audiobook or motivational speech while you're on a run. You can use that time to visualize your goals, clear your mind, or even mentally rehearse an upcoming challenge. That 1 hour of exercise becomes a triple threat. Physical health, mental clarity, and personal growth. Or maybe you're a parent, you want to bond with your kids, but you also need to stay organized and productive. Stacking your hours could mean including your kids in the cooking process while teaching them about healthy food choices. You're spending quality time teaching life skills and getting a task done all at once. That's not multitasking out of desperation. That's stacking with intention. You see, the most fulfilled people don't just fill their hours, they design them. They take ordinary moments and inject purpose into them. They look at time like a puzzle and ask, How can I make this piece count for more? This isn't about cramming your schedule until there's no room to breathe. It's about being creative and intentional with the time you already have. For example, if you want to grow your network and maintain friendships, instead of scheduling separate times for each, invite a friend to join you on your morning walk or to a local event that aligns with your interests. Your Stack in Health connection. Here's a daily life story that proves how powerful this is. Let's talk about Sarah. She's a busy mom, works full time, and is also working on launching a side hustle. Her schedule is packed. But instead of saying, I don't have time, she looks at her hours differently. She listens to entrepreneurial podcasts while doing laundry. She reads personal development books while waiting in the pickup line at school. On weekends, she plans grocery trips with her daughter and uses that time to teach her about money and healthy choices. By stacking her hours, she isn't just getting things done, she's building a life with purpose. The magic of stacking your hours is that it compounds over time. 1 week of stacked hours becomes a productive month. A few months of intentional stacking becomes a transformation. That side hustle takes off. That body starts to change. That mindset evolves. You didn't add more time, you used it better. And here's something most people miss when you stack your hours. You don't just build oats, you build confidence. You start proving to yourself that you're capable of doing more than you thought. That you're not just reacting to life, you're directing it. You're showing up with clarity, energy, and purpose. And that confidence, it bleeds into everything else. You become the person who gets things done, the person others look to, the person who makes time count. Now think about your day. Where are the wasted moments? Where are the empty hours that could be filled with something meaningful? Not overwhelming, but intentional. You don't need to turn every second into productivity. You just need to make sure your most frequent hours are stacked with things that push you forward. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about managing time, it's about maximizing life. And every time you stack 1 hour with purpose, you multiply the impact of your day, your week, your year. Stack your hours like someone who understands that time isn't coming back. Stack them with courage. Stack them with learning. Stack them with connection. Stack them with your future in mind. Because how you spend your hours is how you build your life. We often talk about willpower like it's the key to success. But the truth is, even the strongest willpower will fail if it's constantly battling a chaotic environment. If your space doesn't support your goals, you will always be swimming upstream, struggling, pushing, forcing. That's why the smartest people don't just rely on motivation. They design their environment to make success easier, automatic, and inevitable. Your environment is not just the physical space around you. It's the people, the sounds, the energy, the habits baked into your surroundings. What greets you the moment you open your eyes, and it's what nudges you every second toward either progress or procrastination. And most people don't even realize how much it's silently shaping their behavior day in and day out. Think about this. If you walk into your kitchen and the first thing you see on the counter is a box of donuts, how easy is it to eat healthy? But if that same kitchen has fresh fruit washed and visible, or a water bottle ready to go, you'll likely make a better choice without even thinking about it. That's not discipline, that's smart design. Now take a look at your workspace. Is it cluttered, loud, full of distraction, or is it clean, focused, set up for flow? If every time you sit down to work, your desk is messy, your phone is buzzing, maybe your tabs are loaded with social media, how productive can you truly be? Your environment becomes either your ally or your enemy. And here's the truth, you get to choose. Let me give you a powerful daily life example. There's a man named Jason, a talented writer who always talked about publishing a novel. For years, he blamed his lack of time and inspiration. But one day, he finally took a good, hard look at his environment. His writing desk was buried under junk mail. His laptop sat next to his TV remote. He worked in the same space where he played video games. Distraction was baked into his environment. So he made a change. He cleared the desk, moved his writing space to a quiet corner of the house, hung up a vision board with a mock cover of his future novel, set up a candle and a playlist that triggered focus every time he sat down. Within weeks, he was writing every morning, not because he suddenly became more motivated, because he designed an environment that invited creativity and blocked distraction. Your environment is your foundation. If it's weak, you'll struggle to build anything lasting. If it's strong, it supports you, even on the days when your energy is low and your motivation fades. Now, think about your phone. It's the environment you carry in your pocket. Is your screen filled with distractions? Are the first apps you see pulling you into endless scrolling, comparison, or consumption? Or have you taken control, deleted the noise, rearranged your home screen, turned off notifications, installed apps that build you instead of break your focus? What about your home? Is there a space carved out for your dreams? A space where you go to create, to grow, to become? Or is every room just a place to escape, to numb, to delay? When you walk into your bedroom, does it tell your brain to rest, or does it remind you of unfinished tasks and chaos? When you enter your kitchen, does it reflect energy and wellness or mindless snacking? Every detail matters, and every change you make is a signal to your mind, this is who I am now, this is what I stand for, this is what I value. Even the people in your environment shape your behavior. Who you allow into your space, into your conversations, into your daily life, they influence how you think, how you feel, and how you act. You must protect your energy like it's gold, because it is. If your environment includes toxic voices, endless complaining, or people who don't respect your time, then no amount of goal setting will save you. You can't out-discipline a toxic atmosphere. You have to redesign it. And you don't need a fancy home or a perfect setup. Even small shifts create big results. Light a candle before you start your work session. Play a specific playlist that triggers a flow state. Set a 5-minute timer and clear your desk before beginning. Put your workout clothes out the night before. Keep your journal next to your bed. These little design choices create big shifts over time because they remove resistance, they invite action, they make the right choice easier. People often say, I just need to try harder. No, you don't need to try harder, you need to design smarter. Because your environment is always doing one of two things or helping you fail. You are not lazy. You're just surrounded by systems that make the wrong choice too easy. You're not unmotivated. You're just stuck in a space that pulls your attention in 10 different directions. Change the space and you change the story. So today, look around. What's in your environment that is pulling you away from who you want to become? What can you change? Even just one thing. To make the path forward smoother, cleaner, more powerful. Because the truth is, success doesn't start with a massive leap. It starts with a small shift, a rearranged desk, a deleted app, a boundary set, a vision board hung. Design your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. What if I told you that the life you're living right now, the habits you follow, the results you see, the energy you carry, it's all built on tiny, invisible decisions that you're making every single moment. Not just the big ones like where to work or who to marry. I'm talking about the little ones. The ones that feel like they don't matter, the ones you barely notice. Because here's the truth, every moment is a decision. And those micro decisions are stacking up to build your future whether you realize it or not. From the second you open your eyes in the morning, you are making choices. Do you hit snooze? Or do you rise with purpose? Do you check your phone or do you check in with yourself? Do you fuel your body or feed your cravings? Do you waste the first hour of your day or use it to set your tone, your mindset, your momentum? It's not about perfection, it's about awareness. Most people are living in reaction mode, reacting to the alarm, reacting to the news, reacting to other people's demands. And when you live in reaction, you give your power away. When you start recognizing that every small moment is a decision point, something amazing happens, you take your power back. Think about this. You're working on a big goal, launching a business, getting in shape, or repairing a broken relationship. You sit down and do the work. Notification pops up. It's a friend tagging you in a funny video. You click, you laugh, you scroll, 15 minutes gone. Now you've lost momentum. Your focus is shattered. And maybe you tell yourself, but it's no big deal. I'll work harder tomorrow. But here's what really happened. You made a decision. You chose distraction over discipline. You chose comfort over progress. And that choice, repeated again and again, becomes your identity. Let's take another example. You come home from work tired. You have a decision to make. Do you crash on the couch and binge another show? Or do you go for a walk, call someone you love, read a few pages of that book that's been sitting unopened for months? One decision will leave you slightly better than you were yesterday. The other will leave you stuck in the exact same place. Every time you choose to rise above your mood, your laziness, your distraction, you're voting for your future, and that vote counts. Even if it's small, and it's small, because that's how change really happens. Not in huge, dramatic moments, but in the tiny decisions that no one sees. You don't need more time. You need better decisions with your time. You need to stop waiting for motivation to show up and start showing up for your own life. Because the clock is ticking whether you decide to lead your life or let it drift. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. Take James, a guy with a dream of starting his own coaching business. Every day after his 9 to 5, he has a choice. He can sit down and create content, study marketing, build his platform, or he can make dinner, scroll through YouTube, and call it rest. For 6 months, he chose comfort. He convinced himself he was too tired. Nothing changed. Then one day it hit him. I'm not tired. I'm undecided. He realized he wasn't lacking energy. He was lacking intentionality. So he made a new rule, just 30 minutes a night toward his dream. Not perfect, just consistent. That one small decision repeated night after night transformed everything. Within months, he launched his first course. Within a year, he left his job, all because he started honoring the power of the moment. Every time you're faced with a choice, eat junk or nourish your body, procrastinate or take one small action, numb out or check in, you're standing at a crossroads. Doesn't feel dramatic, it feels normal. But those tiny choices, they add up, they accumulate, they create momentum or regret. The most successful, fulfilled people on the planet aren't the ones who make perfect decisions. They're the ones who make intentional ones over and over again. The good news, you don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You don't need to wait for January 1st or for all the stars to align. You just need to own your next decision. The next 5 minutes, that's where your power lies. So ask yourself, what kind of life am I building with the decisions I'm making today? What future am I shaping with how I spend my next hour? Most importantly, am I making these decisions or am I letting them make me? Because you are the architect of your time. Every moment is a brick. Every choice is a tool. And the life you end up with isn't decided by fate. It's crafted by the thousands of small decisions you make when no one's watching. Decide who you want to be, then make the next moment a reflection of that identity. Not next week, not tomorrow, now. Because your next choice could be the one that changes everything. Live in a world that worships perfection, the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect setup. We've been conditioned to wait until everything is just right before we begin. But here's the truth the greats understand and the rest of the world ignores. Urgency beats perfection every single time. You don't need perfect. You need motion. You need to start, even if it's messy, even if it's awkward, even if it's incomplete. Because waiting for perfect is the fastest way to kill your dreams slowly. Think about how many ideas have died on the altar of not ready. How many books were never written? Businesses never launched, conversations never started, because someone was waiting for the stars to align. It's tragic, not because they weren't capable, because they didn't move. They were waiting for clarity when clarity only comes after action. They were waiting for confidence when confidence is a byproduct of doing. They were waiting to feel ready, not realizing that no one ever truly feels ready. Let's talk about daily life. Imagine you're someone who wants to get in shape. You spend days searching for the best workout plan, researching gym memberships, asking friends for advice, watching fitness YouTubers. Weeks pass. You haven't done a single workout. You know what would have made more of a difference than all of that? Doing 15 push-ups on your bedroom floor right now. That imperfect, immediate action would have moved you forward. But instead, the pursuit of perfection kept you stuck. Urgency says, let's go. Not tomorrow, not when the weather's nice, not when your schedule clears up. Now, it's about attacking life with intensity, about moving with intention, about realizing that every day you delay is a day you'll never get back. Here's the truth. Imperfect action beats perfect intentions every time. No one builds a life of meaning just by thinking about it. No one changes their future by waiting to feel inspired. Winners don't wait for the right time, they create it. They launch before they're ready. They speak before they feel qualified. They act even when they're scared. Because urgency isn't reckless, it's real. Let's talk about a man named Leo. Leo had a dream to open his own cafe. He loved coffee, loved people, had a passion for creating community. But for years, he kept telling himself one day, he wanted the perfect business plan, the perfect amount of savings, the perfect location. Time passed, life got busier. Then one day he realized that someone had opened a cafe in the very spot he dreamed about. Someone who probably wasn't 100% ready. But they moved. They started, they figured it out along the way. That moment shook Leo, so he shifted, he stopped waiting. He found a smaller space, started simple with a coffee cart. Within a year, had built a loyal customer base. Why? Because urgency became more important than perfection. The world moves fast. Opportunities don't hang around forever. Every time you hesitate, someone else is moving. Someone else is acting. Someone else is building while you're planning. If you're always waiting for someday, that day becomes never. Because perfection is a moving target. It always slips just out of reach. Urgency is a decision you can make this second. Even in relationships, urgency matters. Think about the things you want to say to people. The apologies, the gratitude. You wait thinking, I'll do it later. But sometimes later never comes. Life is unpredictable. Moments pass, people leave, and you're left with words that were never spoken. Urgency isn't just about achievement, it's about connection. It's about living fully and choosing presence over perfection. Let me ask you, how many dreams are gathering dust on your shelf of someday? How many goals are still just notes in your journal, waiting for the perfect time to come alive? You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to do the next right thing. Make the call. Write the email. Press record. Go for the walk. Read the first page. Send the message. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. When you lead with urgency, something shifts. You start to trust yourself. You stop overthinking. And momentum is magic. It turns small steps into massive progress. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing something powerfully, because the cost of waiting is far greater than the cost of failing. If you fail fast, you learn. If you move now, you grow. If you start today, you're already ahead of 99% of people still stuck in perfection paralysis. Let urgency become your standard. Let it wake you up with fire. Let it move your feet even when your brain is still full of doubt. Because the people who create extraordinary lives aren't always the smartest or the most talented. They're just the ones who stop waiting. So take the shot, launch the idea, make the leap, not when it's perfect. Now,